Morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And I wanted to call in today to talk about the proclamation signing ceremony just yesterday that we hosted, my staff, my department, and I, of course, with community stakeholders at the Confederation Building yesterday, of course, to sign February to proclaim it as Violence Prevention Awareness. Now, as we know, Tim, we don't need a special month or day or week to talk about this topic. Unfortunately, this is something that we're going to have to talk about until we see systemic change, ultimately. But yesterday, we had a great turnout. We had members from community, members of the RNC, of course, St. John's Status of Women, Stella's Circle, a number of community stakeholders, and it was really good to get together to have that conversation and, again, keep these very important priorities at the forefront.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw something today too, Pam, that I'm sure you're very familiar with. That local lawyer Aaron Breen is going to speak to the Commission in Nova Scotia, looking at the shooting that happened there a year and a half ago about intimate partner violence and preventing all of this. I mean, what have you seen? I asked you this before, but I'm looking for an update as we've gone through COVID, as we're through 2 years into this. What's happening on that front?
Well, we know, Tim, and these are police-reported statistics, that COVID certainly has magnified these problems. An example, when we've gone through the lockdowns and in the isolation, I mean, if someone is experiencing intimate partner violence in the home and they're in lockdown, they can't escape. That their day, that's a whole different can of worms for them right there in their day. But that said, though, I mean, we know these problems are there; they're very real. But we, as a government, we're certainly doing everything that we can to work with community. And again, I want to throw a big bouquet to community. They're the experts. They are the people on the front lines helping the victims who need these supports the most. As a result of COVID, what we saw, of course, is with these increases, our government, we teamed up with the Transition House of Newfoundland Labrador in association with them to create what's called a domestic helpline. And that is, if someone is experiencing emergency situations, violence, they can call that number. It's a toll-free number. It's for, province-wide, Newfoundland Labrador. That number is 1-888-709-7090. And also, Tim, an important feature that's been added is that there's a texting option. Because as we know, I mean,
crucial,
if they have that window, I mean, they may not have
to use it. Yeah,
exactly, right. They may not have that opportunity, to make that phone call, especially if they're living with the attacker. So these are some ways. We've also done some significant legislative change with the Landlord Tenancies Act, for example. Since we've become in government since 2015, these legislation changes have gone before the House and they've passed. And that the Landlord Tenancy Act, for example, gives someone. Sorry, I'm getting another call. Pardon the beep there.
It's probably somebody from Harbour, Grace, Portagrave. Hey, Pam.
Guaranteed. But what that does, that allows someone to get out of a lease if they're experiencing violence and they need to escape. That there's a forgiveness in that lease. We've also seen in the Labour Standards Act, we've got 3 paid days leave, as well as 7 unpaid days leave for someone who needs to escape violence. And the list goes on. Also, what's known as revenge pornography, revenge porn, Intimate Images Act. That's been passed in the House of Assembly, where if you don't have consent to send images around of nude pictures or whatnot, there are consequences. So these legislative changes are happening. But again, it's about communication. It's about keeping these conversations going. At this time, too, I also want to recognize.
And it's also, Pam, about people not dismissing it. I mean, I think sometimes people think you'll come on a day like this and point out what's happening, and people forget about it. But this is an ongoing struggle and battle. One of the things that I took from reading the story about Aaron's presentation, or will-be presentation to the Commission in Nova Scotia, is the importance of educating children as young as 5 about, proper behavior and understanding how to recognize dangerous behaviors and language. I mean, this is so crucial.
You're 100% correct, and you're right. You nailed it on the head. These are systemic changes that need to happen in our education systems, in our workplaces, and ultimately getting at children at a young age and teaching them and letting them know this is not okay. And again, it can't be dismissed. I mean, I know it's an uncomfortable topic for a lot of people. And I mean, I've often heard, even in my journalism days prior to coming into politics, that, oh, they're talking about this again. My gosh, like, you know, it's inconvenient. It's unfortunate. It's, you know, uncomfortable for some people. But the fact is, the reality, it happens. It happens to our neighbours. It happens in our communities. It's happening across our province. And unfortunately, we have the highest statistics in all of Canada, in Labrador, with Indigenous women experiencing these rates at significantly higher rates than the rest of the country.
All right. We can always talk about this issue, but I do have to take a break for news. I appreciate you flagging it. And again, I encourage this discussion because it's real. It's in our society everywhere, and we got to get at it. Thank you for the call today, Pam.
Thank you, Tim. And that's right. And the onus is on every one of us. So you take care and have a great day.
All right. That was Pam Parsons.